Hello, everyone. This is Put the Kettle On. Working title. May change, but I think Tim and I agree it's a pretty good title.
I mean, it's all right.
This is
for the amount of time we put into it, which is about 10 seconds.
Well, this is already a snapshot of what you've just gotten yourself into, of Tim coming in at me with whatever he wants to talk about.
Great.
So this is just a small series that we're doing aimed at international students to talk about British culture. You might be able to tell from my accent, but I do not sound like the British.
Scarlett, where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from the United States. Thanks,
Wow.
Tim, for interjecting.
Well, no, I was just getting the conversation going.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to ask me where I'm from?
No, Tim's from England.
I'm from England. So I think that the plan for this series, I mean, Scarlett said small series, but who knows? This could be start of like something big, like a whole like media empire. TV, syndicate.
Well, it could be a big series, but we are trying to keep it short. So don't think you're getting into something that you have to sit here and watch for the next hour.
No one wants to sit and listen to us talk for like an hour. I think we're aiming for like 10 to 15 minutes. So,
I, as an American, want to know all about different British cultures, and I'm sure if you're an international student, you're kind of curious about some as well. So for each different episode, I'll be asking my friend Tim here to explain some British culture to me, and this is we kind of starting it now to get into the holiday, because I'm sure there's lots of Christmas traditions that we can talk about. But for today, I think you have something planned for us, Tim.
Yeah. Oh, I should also say that as well as being friends, we also live together in the same
Which
house.
is why we are sitting next to each other with no masks.
In these coronavirus times, yeah. So this is in fact our house. So welcome.
And before Tim starts, if you are watching this stream live, feel free to comment in on any of Tim's banter.
Can we see people? There's no comments yet.
No, it's because there's no one live right now.
Sad times.
See, I wasn't gonna point that out, but you can point that out. That
well, I just want
currently
to see
there is no one watching us live.
If people comment, we can see.
Yes.
I mean, if you're watching this in the future, great. But we won't be able to respond to your comments from the past, sadly. But we appreciate them nonetheless.
Right. So if you want to comment on anything Tim said, or if you have any questions, maybe you want to ask him in this quick session, go for it.
We could tell you the answers after as well. So if you're watching in the future, we'll check back to see if there's any questions and let you know then.
Right.
Or tune in for future episodes. So, if no one watches this one, then we might just not do it again. But we're hoping to do another one.
Yeah, we'll see how well received it is.
So, yes. Well, in fact, I think I said, welcome to our home. And that's quite a nice way to get into our topic for today, which is, we should say the title is Put the Kettle On. Is that what we called it? Put the Kettle On. A typical thing you might hear if you walked into a British home as a guest would be, I'll just put the kettle on. Do you want a drink or do you want a cuppa? Which I'll explain in a minute. So, you may have noticed, or you may have heard before you even arrived in the UK, that British are big fans of tea and cups of tea, which is the way we make tea is quite particular, I think, to Britain. I'm not going to pretend for a minute that we're the only country in the world that has tea, partly because it obviously doesn't even grow in the UK. But British are quite famous for drinking tea, and so I thought we'd show you how you'd make a cup of tea. I'm just going to move this actually, just so you can see the kettle. So to start with, we need one of these, which is a kettle.
Okay.
And I've pre-filled this because we're filming it in a room that doesn't have a sink. So it's got markers on it, and actually inside. But this isn't a review for the kettle, so. It's a very nice kettle. So we filled it enough water for 2 cups of tea. I'm going to turn it on, and I do really like my kettle, which turns blue when you light it up. So now Scarlett.
So what is it doing right now?
It's going to heat the water up, and it'll
okay.
start making noises in a minute, and you probably won't be able to hear me speaking. It's one of the downsides. But Scarlett, I think in America you wouldn't necessarily have one of these, would you?
No, would not. No, so in America, you normally would make hot water on the stovetop. You would have an actual like tea kettle.
Right.
We normally don't have electric kettles. I've kind of found out is we don't have enough output from our outlets to make it brew so quickly. Yeah. Or we make the forever sin of putting water in a mug and heating it up in the microwave.
Yeah, British people like get very distressed when you talk about that because it's just really standard. I mean, you could buy these very cheaply, like in the supermarket for probably £10-20. I mean, this was a bit more expensive because it's quite nice, but pretty much every British home would have a kettle, and it does use a lot of power, but it only takes like a couple of minutes. So, I think in the past you would have to heat water on in a like a metal kettle under a flame on the stovetop, but nowadays you find some people who are still do that if they're kind of like a bit old fashioned and they kind of like it, and it'll start whistling when it's boiling and the steam comes out. But nowadays most people have an electric kettle. Water's just coming to the boil.
Okay.
So to make your tea, we're not doing anything fancy today. We just got a couple of mugs, and you basically need your tea bags. Now, our tea bags live in this nice tin, which has got the classic World War II keep calm and carry on, but it's obviously changed to keep calm and brew tea, the kind of iconic bit of British design. So, and I'm just gonna take a tea bag, one per mug, and then you just pour the. It's not actually that complicated. Think about it. You just pour the water on top.
And the water's changed colors.
Yeah, so you won't be able to see very well. I'll move it closer, but obviously it's starting to brew. So the water's gone brown as it turns into tea. This is one of the advantages of putting the tea bag in first, is that the force of pouring water on top helps to get out. Now normally I would give it a little bit of a stir just to make sure it's kind of opened up and brewing, and then I'd leave it for, and it depends on your choice. I tend to do it for 3 minutes. So shall we set a timer just so that for the excitement and thrill of the drama. Timer for 3 minutes.
Alright, 3 minutes.
There we go. So but it's up to you really. I do that partly because I'm very impatient, and so I'll put it in and then I'll go and do something else to use up the time, and then I'll forget about it and come back like 15 minutes later. It'll be kind of over brewed and bitter and not very hot anymore. So that's why. I have realised we've forgotten to get one thing for our setup.
Oh, there's no milk.
There's no milk, which is probably the most distinctive thing about the way British people have their tea, is that we take this kind of nice, delicate kind of like infusion, and then we just add milk on top. But I might go and fetch the milk, and
right.
You can talk.
Or how about you
go
fetch? You can do bands.
Okay, so yes. Now, another question people might have is, what kind of tea have we got here? Because obviously you can get lots of different types of tea: green tea, kind of yellow tea, and this is just standard British tea, sometimes called English breakfast tea. But I know some people don't even like that term because it's kind of come in because we now have other types of tea that are more popular as well, like fruit tea and herbal teas. But some people would just say it's just ordinary tea. And I was trying to find out beforehand actually what kind of tea it is, and I've got the box that I actually filled the tea. So this is Yorkshire Tea, which is the most popular brand in the UK. Again, tea doesn't grow in Yorkshire. It's just a company that's based in Yorkshire that like imports it and packages it. So and literally on the ingredients it just says black tea. So it's it doesn't give any specific types, and I wouldn't know. It's just tea. So We do have other types of tea, which I'll show you in a minute once we've sorted this out. But yeah, mostly you buy tea bags in a massive. This has cost about £5 for 240 bags, so it's very cheap. You can get a massive box in the supermarket. You can also get black tea as loose leaf tea, which would look a bit like something like this. And you could put that. Have we got a bit of water left? Not very much. But if you've got a teapot, this one's quite small, but you can get teapots bigger than this. This could just about do 2 cups. But if we put some loose leaf tea in our teapot and then add some water, you can also make tea. That's not full enough. That's going to be very strong. But you could also make tea that way, especially if you're being, it's a special occasion. Okay, so timer has gone. It's tea time, and so we now need to take our tea bags out. Now, some people will squeeze them out against the side of the cup. I've been told if you do that, it kind of forces a lot of bitter flavour out. So I tend to try and make sure it's not dripping everywhere, but just take it out without doing that. And I've got this handy little tea tray thing for putting tea bags on. Because otherwise, if you try and take it to the bin and then you drip all over the floor, and it's just a nightmare. So that's kind of nice. I've got lactose-free milk because I'm lactose intolerant, but just normal milk is fine. Or you can also have almond milk or soya milk. And then you want to add. This is another big topic of debate: is how people might ask, "How do you like your tea?" Which partly is a question of milk. So how much milk you should put in to determine how dark it is. I don't know if you can see that. If I bring it closer to the camera, I can still see what you can see. It's quite hard to see. Yeah. So that's quite a good kind of. That's quite strong still. I might add a tiny bit more. Yeah. I mean, it's quite simple, really. The main thing is not to add the milk before the tea bag is finished brewing, because it basically clogs up the tea bag and then the flavour doesn't come out anymore. So some people will put the tea bag in, put the water in, and then because they can't be bothered to wait, they'll then put the milk in straight away, and you just end up with a horrible kind of milky, not very strong kind of mess. And then you end up squeezing the tea bag to try and get the flavour out, and I don't approve of how you make tea.
Jamie was watching.
Oh, hi Jamie. Speaking of people, our friend Jamie, I think he used to do this, and I used to tell him off because I didn't think it was a very good way to make tea, and I think he has now changed his ways. There's something else that you might add to tea. Do you know what that is, Skylar? Some people add to tea.
Jamie said, "Who puts the milk in first?"
Well, you used to, Jamie.
That you add to tea?
Yeah.
Is it just no
Sugar.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So I think some people will add sugar to tea, and in fact, there's a kind of phrase that's milk and 2. So you might say, "How do you like your tea?" And someone might reply, "Milk and 2, please." And that means milk and 2 sugars, which is normally 2 teaspoonfuls of sugar, or 2 sugar cubes if you've got cubes of sugar. I think it's more common in the older generation, so my grandparents' generation. I think quite a lot of them and other kind of old people I know might have 1 or 2 sugars in their tea. I think my generation, perhaps because of people being more health conscious, and that sugar's bad for your teeth and it's bad for your diet. So I think most people I know of my age would just have it without sugar, and I think it's fine. And I think actually if someone our age had sugar, other people might be like, "Oh, disapproving," kind of like you're kind of weak that you need your tea to be sweetened because you can't have it as it is.
Right. So what are your kind of closing thoughts or anything else you quickly wanted to show people?
We should probably have a taste of our tea, shouldn't we?
No.
I forgot to say, obviously this is a very nice Union Jack British flag mug. So So
Good cup of tea.
yeah, it's good. We do have other types of tea that you can find in the UK. So I've got a selection here. This is a nice tin which has got Earl Grey tea in, which again is black tea, but it's got bergamot flavour, which is quite
Burger flavor.
bergamot. It's kind of like I think it's an oil or something from citrus that's quite a strong scent. And you normally some people have this with milk, but you'd often have that black. And then there's a whole load of what are called herbal teas, which could be either herbs or other types of plant or fruit as well. People sometimes refer to fruit teas as in the category of herbal teas. This is licorice and cinnamon, which is, I think, quite a strange combination that I quite like, but a lot of people don't. We've also got chamomile, vanilla and honey. Chamomile's like a flower. Vanilla is quite a common flavour, and honey. That's quite good for bedtime. We've also got good for bedtime if you want ordinary tea but you don't want the caffeine, because tea obviously has caffeine in. This is in fact it's upside down, but it's got the caffeine taken out. It's decaffeinated tea, and these often come in blue boxes. So if you're in the supermarket, just watch out if you want the caffeine in your tea. Make sure you get a box that isn't blue, because normally the blue boxes are decaf tea. Tea has got about half, a cup of tea has got about half the caffeine that a cup of coffee has, and about double what a Coke, like a Coca-Cola. That's how I remember. So I think like a can of Coca-Cola or like a glass of Coca-Cola has half of what tea has, which is half of what coffee has. Interestingly, weight for weight, so if you have the same weight of tea leaves and the same weight of coffee beans or ground coffee, the tea would have more caffeine in it per gram.
Yeah.
But the amount tea is much lighter, so the amount of tea you put in that's in a tea bag or something is a lot lighter than the weight of coffee you would use for a cup of coffee. So therefore tea has less. But yeah.
Great. Any last things?
I think, when is a good time to drink a cup of tea? This might be a question that you might be wondering.
It's all the time.
In a British person's mind, it's like all the time. Pretty much anything. Your friend has just arrived at your house. Oh, well, I'll put the kettle on. Like, would you like a cuppa? Cuppa is short for cup of tea. If someone's like upset, it's a kind of like British reflex to just put the kettle on, because tea somehow makes everything better, and it's kind of like a way British people mark out the day, is kind of like you have a break from work, make a cup of tea. If you work in an office, people often do a round where one person will make tea for everyone, which is quite a lot of pressure, because you have to remember how everyone likes their tea, like how much milk, how many sugars, and it can get quite complicated. But British people love tea.
Wow, thanks so much, Tim.
Great.
There's so much to know about.
There's so much more. So when are we next doing this?
Well, I would assume we're doing it next Wednesday at 5, unless you thought differently. But no, we should be back here next Wednesday at 5. Might be talking about Christmas.
Yeah, well, there's more to say about tea as well. But
True.
See what happens.
Well, we'll see what happens. But if you enjoy learning about all this different knowledge, obviously it's not going to be about tea every week. There's a lot more to British people than tea and its history and culture. And so please leave a like on the video, leave comments, give us some feedback on what you thought. We'd love to hear, if you enjoyed this or not, if we should continue doing it.
Any questions you have about tea, or other questions you have about British culture or British people, things that confuse you about Britain, if you've been living here for a while, or not very long at all, and it's very confusing, then we'd love to do things that will help you and are interesting.
So please leave some ideas of things that you'd like to see talked about, and obviously Tim has a vast knowledge of things, and even if he doesn't, he loves to research things and get into the history of things. And
so tune in next Wednesday.
Put
the
at
kettle
5.
On, make a cup of tea.
You can make a cup of tea with us now.
and we'll join you with tea next Wednesday at 5.
Great.
See you then.
Bye. God, that was cool.
Great.
From